Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It. Daf Yomi We're learning Mesechus Yevamos Daf Kufay 105 today. I want to tell my audience that if something new cooking up, hopefully, one of my producers told me that maybe because this is Yeshiva's YouTube, right? We're making Yeshiva on YouTube. My channel is the official Yeshiva on YouTube. So maybe it's a good idea to add a Musar shir. People named Musar, Shkafa slash Musar. So I thought it wasn't a bad idea actually. Of course, my schedule is packed already, but you know what? A couple extra shirim doesn't hurt. I will always want to say about various different topics in Judaism. In fact, actually, one time I actually wrote a book when I was younger. I was actually thinking of writing a book. I wrote 50 essays about different topics, 50 hashkafic different topics. I had it printed. It was like 4 or 5 pages per topic. I guess the book would be around, I don't know, 200, 250 pages. It never came to fruition. I never ended up publishing the book. I don't know what happened to those essays. It was written obviously with a sense of humor. If you know me, I always have a sense of humor to throw in. Some of my hashkafa has actually changed a lot since what I wrote down. That's why I'm not even going to reference it. So my hashkafas did change, but you'll get a clear representation of my hashkafas right now. He said maybe it's a good idea to do it twice a week. Maybe once a week will be like Musar, once a week will be Parsha slash Musar slash hashkafa. So that's coming out soon. I was thinking maybe to do it based on a sefer. I think a good sefer would be Pele Yoetz, where he just basically talks about different hashkafic terms in Judaism and elaborates on them. And I'll just pick those terms and elaborate them myself, maybe mention quickly what he says, and then maybe how I agree or disagree with what he has to say. So be sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss any content coming out soon. Let's get started. Today's daf. The second to last line, Kuf Dalam and Beis. Miya Marabi Akiva Rakika Apostle. Gemara entertained yesterday that Rakiva says that if you do, right, we had machlokas in the Mishnah, if you do chalitza without rakika, without spitting, or without reading the psukim, she doesn't read the psukim, she doesn't say the psukim you're supposed to say when she does the chalitza, it's a machlokas, Ezra and Rabbi Akiva. Akiva says it's considered ksheira, it's good chalitza. The other says no, it has to be both a chalitza and a rakika. Kriya, everyone agrees, is not ma'akev. So Rabbi Akiva said, what about if you just do rakika without chalitza? So the Gemara says, Mima Rakiva Rakika la pasta. Rakika doesn't pass. I mean, obviously Rakika by itself is invalid completely, but it would accomplish half of what chalitza normally does. Chalitza normally severs both the zikas yivmin and the zikas nisuin. What about Rakika? Does that pass to the achin, which would be basically severing the zikas yivmin, and you have to do a chalitza to remove the rest of, not a zika, but the kinyan nisuin, which is allowing her to marry to the shuk. Does Rakika by itself, does Rakika hold? Rakika doesn't pass, like Mara said yesterday, it doesn't do anything. Tanya, Braisa, Chalza, Velo Rakika. Let's say the woman did Chalitza, she took off the shoe, but she didn't spit, Velo Kara, she didn't read the Psukim. Chalitza is like Shera. Like, this is the opinion we're going to see. There's Rabbi Kiva in the Mishnah, he says the Chalitza by itself is valid. Rakika, Velo Chalza, Velo Kara, she did only Rakika, Chalitza is Psula. Her Chalitza is Pasal. Kara, Velo Rakika, Velo Chalza. And she did kriya, she did psukim, but not spitting and not doing removing the shoe. Enkan beis mechosh. Enkan beis mechosh is different than psula. Enkan beis mechosh means it's insignificant at all. It's completely insignificant. The second case where she does rakika without the other two things, chalitza psula, and like the Gemara didn't get in, that it means it's not completely valid, but it's also not completely invalid. Meaning, and we're assuming it means that it works halfway to passel her to the achan. No one can do yibum anymore, but you still need chalitza in order to matir to the shuk. Mani. So who is the author of this brisa? The first clause in the brisa, that the chalitza by itself is valid. Rakika is an action, so therefore it's ma'akev. It's not valid completely. El Pshita Rabbi Akiva must be the author of this brisa. Rabbi Akiva. Chalitza psula. It's a pasal chalitza, but it's not the same as the third case where it's ein kan beis mechush. Chalitza psula is a pasal chalitza in terms of its entirety, but it does work halfway to pass her to the akin. The Gemara says, "Laman ilay mala alma," right? Pshita. Mihavya chalitza, the ishtar yala alma. It's not a rakika. Is definitely not in place of a good chalitza. And matir works fully. Alav la'achin. It must be a pasal her to the achin. Shmamina. So you see, according to Rakiva, it does pasal the achin. The Rakiva maishna rakika maishna kriya. Why rakika by itself is pasal the achin, but kriya inkan base meichu doesn't do anything. Kriya the isivim mitchilim masof lo michlav alei. So the Gemara is assuming now that it's actually only the Rabbanan, right? It's only the Rabbanan. Rakika passes the Akin, not on the Raisa level, only the Rabbanan level. So the Gemara is asking, what's the difference in Kriya and Rakika? So the Gemara says, Kriya, she reads Psukim the whole time. The whole Chariza process, she's reading Psukim. So therefore, no matter when people come, they come in the middle or they come at the end, Lo michlaf alei. They're going to assume, right, that everything was done in its entirety. Rakika, the Betchila, Leisa, L'Sof Isa, Rakika is only not at the end. After she takes off the shoe, then and she reads the psukim, then she spits and she says more psukim. Michlaf alei. People will be confused. V'asal mishri chalus la'achin. Right? They'll say what? They'll say only Rakika was done. Right? And they're going to come to matir chalus la'achin. They're going to say what happened? Obviously, the Rakika at the end, they did. And they must have done a Chalitza beforehand, right? And they won't know. It's only Rakika, not a Chalitza. So they're going to say, oh, it's a Chalitza on a Rakika, and therefore when it's a valid Chalitza, people are going to say, even if there's valid Chalitza, she's Muteres l'shuk, and she's Muteres even to the Ach. We don't want people to think that. So therefore, Menegzer the Rabbanon, that she's possible to the Ach. Ika da Amri, Haki Shalchole. This is the Ika da Amri. Alternatively, they send something else. Yevamos Haraka, Tachlos, Ve'enas Richa Laruk Pa'amacheres. This, according to Zika the Amri, would actually be the Oraisa, that the Rakika is valid, the Oraisa, the Pasal of the Achim. Right? Once she does Rakika, she have to do Chalitza. She can't marry the Achim. The Oraisa, she doesn't have to spit a second time. Someone, Yevamos came from Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Mama was sitting there, Raka Mekame the Tachlas. She spat before she took off the shoe. First, she's supposed to take off the shoe, and then she spat. Amar Lei Rabbi Ami, Chalatzla. Visharila Tigra, he said, do chalitza, even though she did Rakika, do the chalitza afterwards and matir her, for you finish her case. I'm going to be Abba, Rabbi said to them, Abba Ina Merirach Meirach. I needed to spit. Harakga law. She did spit. V'teirak umabakach. Let her spit again, right? Normally the Rakika follows the chalitza. Let her spit again. Nafik minichor, but the Amr Teader V'teirak, Amr Rakika Kamaisa Leis B'Mishashav, Asan Mishra Chalitza La'achid. If we make her spit again, so he saw two spitting, so I'll say the first spitting before the chalitza is invalid. And they'll say even if she spits the first time, she's much as the achin, and that's not true. Really, if the Rakika by itself, according to Rabbi Akiva, it passes her to the achin midal raisa. The Gemara says, don't you need it to be in order? First in the chalitza, it says first do the chalitza, and then the Rakika and the parsha in the Torah. The Gemara says really the you're supposed to do it in the right order, but it's not ma'akiv. He thought he was pushing him away. Really, it is ma'akiv. The Bryce says, whichever one comes first, even if you do it out of order, it's still valid. Levi nafak l'kraisa. We're going to talk about Enos Ben Sion. I'm going to talk about this concept, how Rakika works partially, midoraisa. The Gemara passed like the second Ika Amri, passel like Rabbi Akiva, the passel to the Achin. What is the pshat? Why Rakika works halfway? And why Chalitza works completely. I'm going to split it up based on my famous way of explaining Yibom. There's a Kenyan Yibom and a Kenyan Nisuin. If you can't figure it out, I have mercy on you. You better figure this out yourself. You spent 104 dapim learning Yevamos. You're about 104 Ian Shiurim Masechas Yevamos. It's about time you're able to figure out what I'm going to say before I say it. I hope you're able to. If not, then you can listen to the Ian Shir. Doesn't hurt. All right. The Gemara says, Levi nafak l'kraisa. Levi went out to the villages. Bo minei. They didn't know so much in the villages. They didn't have a base med, they didn't have a yeshiva there. Bo minei gidem etmal shetach. Let's say a woman who has no hands, right? She's out to do chalitza now with her hands. She do it with her teeth. Is that okay? Yevamos harakga dam. She spat not spit. She spat blood. Mao. Aval agilacha es harasha. Aval agilacha es harasha b'chsav emes. The pasuk in Daniel says, "I'll tell you what Hashem said, what Hashem wrote down, what Hashem said, that is truthful." they were asking him, could there be something that Hashem wrote they wrote down the name of Hashem that's not true? These three questions he didn't know the answer to. Also, Shalbim in Russia, he went to the base medrash. Amrulay, they told him the answer. Miksiv v'chalsa biyad. It doesn't say chalitza with the hand, so therefore chalitza with the mouth is okay. Miksiv v'yarka wrote. Does it say that she has to spit, only spit? So even blood, because it has a little spit in it, like we're going to see later on, it has a little spit in it, little saliva, and it's okay. Lo kasha. The answer to him, kam b'gzardin she'eshi moshua, kam b'gzardin she'eni moshua. If the gzardin, if Hashem's decree had a shua, it was accompanied by an oath, that is something that is truthful, it can never be overturned. The gzardin she'eni moshua doesn't have an oath, it could be overturned. We're going to have to talk about this more in Hashkafa Shir, about the meaning of tefillah. Does Hashem really overturn a decree? That's what we assume during tefillah, that there's a gzardin against you. And with tefillah, you could overturn that. It's not so pasha rationally. And the Gemara here seems to imply that, but we're going to have to talk about that in Hashkafa Shir. I'll give you a little taste. It's coming up in the next couple lines of the Gemara. So the Gemara says, if the gzardin has a shvur with it, it's accompanied by an oath. Hashem makes an oath accompanying that gzardin, that decree. It ain't a miskareya. It can't be ripped up. It doesn't say nikra, ain't koreya. Miskareya means to be ripped up by itself. So it's word miskareya is very important understanding the concept of tefillah. Shnemar l'chen ishba'at l'beis Eli miskaper oven beis Eli b'zevach mincha ad olam. Beis Eli was the house. They got a curse. Anyone from the family of Beis Eli, nothing will atone for their sins. Zevach Mincha Eli was the Kohen Gadol. His sons Pinchas and the other one, I'm not sure. It's Gemara in Shabbos says that they did averos, whatever they did. They either slept with the woman or caused their wives not to be muteras to their husbands. So therefore they did an aveira. So even Zevach Mincha, even bring korban is not going to help at olam. And he made a shvua. Amar Rabba b'Zevach Mincha in Miskaper. Rabba, who was from Beis Eli, darshan it. There'll be no kapara with a korban. Al Miskaper b'divrei Torah. If you learn Torah, or you keep the words of the Torah, you do a cheshbon nefesh, then it is. Abai Amar b'Zevach, it could be Miskaper. Amar Abai b'Zevach Mincha Miskaper b'Gilnas Chasadim. Gilnas Chasadim, it could be overturned. Rabba Abai b'Beis Eli kasu. They both came in the house of Eli. Rabba dasik b'Torah chayar b'anshnin, right? He learned Torah. He lived 40 years. Abai dasik b'Torah g'milas hasadim. He did Torah and he did g'milas hasadim. Chay shisin shnin. He lived 60 years. There was a family in Yerushalayim. Shayu Mesim k'ben shmona esrei shana. They died 18 years. Bovo dios rang Yocham and Zakkai. They told Yocham and Zakkai, Malahem Shem v'shbachas Eli at them. It's like going to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, right? They said maybe you're Beis Eli. Shnever kol marbis beisecha emusu anashim. Anyone raised in your house will die anashim when they become men at 18 years old. Go learn Torah. They listened to him, like probably what Rechaim Kanievsky would have said. Go learn Torah. They lived on. They called them family Yochanan because he saved them. Right? You call right? A child couldn't have, a couple couldn't have a child. They go to Rechaim Kanievsky and he says, use wine for Havdalah, and 9 months later they have a baby boy, and he named the child Rechaim Kanievsky, not Rechaim Kanievsky, Chaim. Similar idea over here. How do you know a decree against the tzibur, against Klal Yisrael? She'eno nechtam. It's not sealed. Eno nechtam. It's not sealed. Even if you cleanse yourself, the biggest cleansing you can do, your sin will still be stained in front of me. How do you know even if it's sealed, the gzardin in the decree, seemingly it's sealed, miskareh, it can be ripped up by itself. Shenemar, Mika Hashem Elokeinu Chol Kareinu Allah. Who is like Hashem? Anytime you call out to him, seemingly he could annul the decree. Allah, but the pasuk says, "Dear Hashem b'matzo." The second pasuk says you should search out Hashem, and presumably means to pray to him b'matzo when he's available. Sounds like he's not always available. Lokash, the tzibur Hashem is always available. That the decree could be miskareya, could be dissolved by itself. But the Yachid, not always so. Yachid Amos, one kind of Yachid, in his eyes, this is what I'm going to explain, in his eyes, it's like the decree was torn up. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Ravua, Elo Asar Yom Sheben Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. At Dir Hashem B'Matzo, there's a special 10-day period, Aseres Mei Tshuva, where even for a Yachid, Miskareya, his Gzardin could be ripped up. Shalchulei Lavua de Shmuel, they had the father Shmuel, Yevamos Sharak Gadam Tachlots. If she spit blood, she could do Chalitza, she do Chalitza. V'she'ef Shaladam, V'lo broke. Meaning, the Rakika is effective, like we said before, Midaraisa, we hold it's effective to pass her to the Achens. Therefore, she has to do Chalitza, no one can do Yibam, because the dam has a little spit in it, a little saliva in it. You might think that, right, a zav, right, so he has an emission from his penis, right, which would be a ziva, right, semen, or he has something spit which comes out of his mouth. Let's say he has blood come out of his mouth or his penis. So you might think he's tamei. Zovo tamei. And Zov only things that naturally come out of him, right? They flow out of him. But blood, which doesn't normally come out of your mouth or come out of the penis, doesn't necessarily make you tummy. Alator, lo kasha. So you see, blood is not considered like spit. Lo kasha. Kan motzes kan b'shosis. If the woman who we're talking about, she's spitting out blood, is talking about she motates, she like squeezes in, she sucks in her mouth. She has blood obviously coming from somewhere, either from her lungs or from her mouth, her cavity or her teeth or something like that. She sucks in, she's going to mix saliva with it. Shows if it just comes out, she just go, and the blood comes out of her mouth, then it's only blood, and that would be puzzle. That wouldn't be rakika at all. That wouldn't, because it has to have some spit in it, because rakika literally means spit, saliva. So it doesn't have to be entirely spit. Most of it could be blood, but there has to be some spit in there. All right, but by zav, right, those things they normally flow out, so it's flowing out, it can entirely be blood, so then it's possible. The Gemara says it's not considered zav. It doesn't make the person a zav. Cherish hanechlat. The Mishnah says if he's a deaf mute, shenechlatz, or he's a katan, right? He's a katan. The yavam is a katan, and the woman took off the shoe. Is that valid? Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, top of Kovhei Amabiz. Zu divrei Rei Meir. These are the words of Rei Meir. Al Chamar remain chalis katan klum. Rei Meir holds that it says chalitza psula, like we learned many times. Chalitza psula means that she's puzzle to the achen. She can't marry a different brother, but she still has to do chalitza. Chum say no. Chalitza katan klum. She does chalitza to a katan. It's invalid completely, and have to do. She could technically do yibam to another one of the brothers. That would be the nafkamina. Katana shachal. So what about a katana? A Yevamos, she's a katana. She does the chalitza. Is that valid? Amar Yehuda Marav. Zu divrei Rei Meir. Rei Meir says the Amar ish kasu a parsha. Makshin isha ish. Just like it says ish in the parsha to exclude a katan. So therefore isha is like an ish. Al chum omrim ish ksiv a parsha isha ben gdola ben katana. The chum hold exactly the opposite over here. When it's the Yevamos a katana, then they say it's completely valid. Ben gdola ben katana is completely valid. I suppose when it's an ish, a katan, so it's exactly the opposite of machlokas. Or Meir says when the yavam is a katan, it's a chalitza psula, it works partially, and according to the Chachamim, it's not worth anything. So the Gemara is man Chacham, who is the Tana? Like as the Chachamim, Rabbi Yossi is Rabbi Yossi. We're going to find out a long story. That's Rabbi Yossi. The Rechia, Rabbi Shimon bar Rebbe, Avi Yossi Pesa Avi Yosve. Rechia and Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rebbe, were sitting. Pasach Haminayu Amar Mispal Sarach Shita Einav Lamata. Unrelated discussion. Someone who's davening, he has to put his eyes downwards. Sometimes you see people davening Shemona Esrei, they look down. Hashem puts his eyes down, right? He looks down at the base of Mikdash when it's destroyed. Some say, put your eyes up. Well, bring our hearts to our hands. When you ask for Hashem, go on and raise up their hands, so you look upwards, right? Again, tefillah, I'm going to explain. Well, I'm not going to explain it now, but tefillah basically is introspection in yourself to assess where you are in life and where you're going, what your goals are in life, and how you'll achieve that success. It's a positive, looking for the positive in life. That would explain why the Gemara says before. Really, tefillah is not that Hashem makes a gzar din. And if it's a communal gzar din, then it can be overturned at all times by a lot of tefillah b'tzibur. And a yachid, only during Aseres Yemei Tshuva, could overturn a decree. Hashem, everything's preordained in this world. Hashem said the world has a script. The world has a script. But we as people, we feel sometimes there's a gzar din against us. We feel that something can't be overturned. You can't get that refuah. You can't get that shidduch. You can't get that parnasa. You can't get it. You're trying everything. You're going to Amukah. You're getting the bracha of the Gedolim. You're having 40 people daven for 40 nights at the Kosel, or at Amukah, or at Meron, or maybe all of them together, and you're staying up doing Tikkun Chatzos for 40 nights, along with paying for these things. It's just not working, right? So that's the Gemara is saying that miskareya, the Gezardin, the decree against you, during Aseret Simei Tshuva, you actually get to see that, or get a vision that maybe miskareya, it'll be absolved. Sometimes you're blocked. There's a blockage in life. You can't go any further, and that's the way it works. A lot of times we face difficulties, and we think it'll never change. Something will never change, and all of a sudden, miskareya, it just becomes like rips up by itself, right? It's not that Hashem is overturning the decree. Now you change Hashem's mind. No, just from our perspective, it got torn up. Hashem always planned that it would be not overturned, but it would change. Things would change. Hashem planned that. So during a service to make tshuva for your personal needs, biyachid, for your personal needs, oftentimes you get a glimpse. That's the time, the beginning of the new year, you see things are beginning to change. And for the tzibur, when Klal Yisrael is going through something very difficult, whatever that is, the harsh degree of an enemy country, or maybe your own country, Israel, things are not good for the Haredim. I don't know. I don't know about the Gedder tzibur. All Klal Yisrael are just your specific group within Klal Yisrael. But if it's for a communal need, so sometimes there's a blockage also. So that blockage seems like it could be overturned any time. You reach a point where you're hitting a wall, but sometimes miskareya, anytime during the year, it's possible for that blockage to be removed. So, it doesn't mean during the year that a yachid's challenges, right? A lot of times in the middle of Pesach, you can get a shidduch, right? All it means is that you're not going to experience the same thing where all of a sudden you're hitting a wall, right? You feel like you're hitting a wall, and all of a sudden the decree is overturned. It's seemingly overturned. It's miskareya. It dissolves by itself. You're not going to feel that way during the middle of the year. You only feel that way during a Aseret Simei Tshuva. That's really what it means over here. That to davening, your head should be down, but your heart should be to the ground. Meaning, again, tefillah is a time of introspection of your goals, where you want to be. You have to be on the ground. You have to realize where you are. Like I said before, you have to take 3 steps back, go back to reassess, recalibrate where you are. Look at the ground, look down, look where you are right now, and then you can look up to Shamayim, and then you could figure out where you're going. All right, so the Gemara says, so one pasuk says that you look down, one pasuk says you look up. Came to them, but my ask is, what are you learning? I'm really betfila. We're learning about tefillah. I'm really kakam Abba mispal sar shitin ev lamata avalibu lamalo. You look down, but your heart is heavenward. Kadesh is kaimu shnei mikros halalu. In order to reconcile these 2 psukim, Haki asa Rebbe l'masifta. In the meantime, Rebbe came to the yeshiva. Eno dava klili yasiva b'dotay. Rebbe was the big Rosh Yeshiva. So the people that were quick-footed, they didn't weigh a lot. They went and sit in their places to get ready for the shir. Rabbi Yossi, Agav Yukra, he was a very heavy person. He was walking, he was passing over the students while he was very heavy. Amalei Avdan, who was a Abba Yudin, a Talmud of Rebbe, whom he was just a Mfasei al Rosh Hayam, right? Rebbe is he's the one that when everyone's sitting down could walk to the front of the room, but you once the Talmidim sat down, you have no right to walk in front of them to the front of the room. Rosh Hashanah Kodesh. Ani Yishmael Rabbi Yossi Shabasi Limod Torah Rebbe. I'm Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi. I'm a big Tana. I came to learn Torah from Rebbe. Amar Lei V'chiyata Hagan Limod Torah Rebbe. You're fit to learn Torah from Rebbe. Amar Lei V'chimoshe Hagan Limod Torah Mi'agura. Moshe from Hashem, he was fit. Amar Lei V'chimoshe Ata. So it's just like Moshe wasn't fit, I'm also maybe not fit, but I can learn from him. Amar Lei V'chimoshe Ata. Chimoshe Ata. You Moshe. Amar Lei V'chirabcha Elokimu. You're Rebbe. Is he God? I mean, it's the same. It's the same. Just like I'm not Moshe, Rebbe's not God. Amar Rav Yosef, Shachli Rebbe in the Mitzvah. At that time, Rebbe was punished. Kamar le Rabcha below Rebbe. because uh, he said to him, uh, Abdan said to Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi, your Rebbe, and he didn't call him Rebbe, right? It wasn't because we're going to see Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi was equal with Rebbe. He wasn't really his Rebbe. Rebbe wasn't the Rebbe of Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi. He should just called him Rebbe, and he didn't say anything in defense. Rebbe didn't say anything in defense of Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi, so therefore he was punished. In the meantime, Yevamos came into the middle of the base medrash to the Rebbe. Amar lei Rebbe la Avdan. Rebbe said to Avdan, poke bodka. Check her out. Labasar the nafak. Amar lei Rebbe Shmuel kach Amar Abba. Ish kasu parsha, meaning find out if he sent her to find out if she was a gdola, she was a young girl, see if she has simonim. In the meantime, Amar lei Rebbe Shmuel kach Amar Abba ish kasu parsha aval isha ben gdola ben ktana. Like the Rabbanan, and the shita is even a ktana. Even if she's not of age, she could do Yibam midaraisa. Amar lei ta lo srichas. Once he heard this, he said, I don't need you anymore, Abda. For her zakin, the elder, the father, Shmuel bar Yossi paskin. Kamafasa Adan Asi. Abdan was coming, and all the people were sitting down. He was going to the front. Amar Shmuel bar Yossi, misarach am sarach lo am kadosh yifsal roshi am kadosh. People that is worthy of leading the Klal Yisrael or the students. He can step over them. He can walk past them. You're not fit to give a shir. He realized that Abdan was not on such a high level. Rabbi, stay where you are. Tanam also shut and star Abdan. Rabbi got angry at him, so to speak, right? It was harbinger of what was going to happen. And star Abdan, he got saras. Two of his sons drowned at that time. Two of his daughter-in-laws. I guess he had daughters that were not of age. They did miyun. They refused their husbands, his sons. Amar of Nachmar Yitzchak, Baruch Rachman the Kisvei Abdan b'Hayalma. Blessed is Abdan that he got his embarrassment in this world. And the article says, in this world, as opposed to the next world. It doesn't really say that in the Gemara. All the Gemara is saying is that he got his punishment. Who says he's going to be saved from punishment in the next world? Amar Rabbi Yami Midvarash Rabbi Shalbaribi. Nilmod, from the words of Rabbi, will learn Ktana Choletzes Bepuutos, right? Obviously, he meant she's not a 3-year-old girl. Puutos is the age where you're able to make a logical deal. Mekacho Memkar, so that's the age where she could do, that's what really Rabbi Yossi meant, that she could do Yibum, she could do Chalitza. Rava Amra Ashidiyah Onas Hadarim. He says, no, she doesn't have to be Gadola. What Rabbi Yossi meant, she has to get to the age where she's 11 years old, and one day that she can make Nadarim. The halacha is, we don't follow the Rabban, we follow actually a mayor, that Ketana is Psula, her Yibum, or her Chalitza is invalid, she has to bring Shtei Saros. Chalta b'shnayim, let's do the Chalitza in front of 2, or even in front of 1, is it good? Amar Yosef, Amar Yumi, Amar Nachman, Ein halacha goes to zug. It's not like that pair that said halacha even with 1 dayan is good. Amar Rav Nachman chad zimna. Rav Nachman said 1 time. The Amar of Yosef and Yumi. Amar Rav Nachman chalitza b'shlosha. So he said already 1 time that chalitza is done in front of 3 dayanim. Srichi. Now you need both teachings. The it's mar hakamais. If we just have the first teaching, how many chachila? I will the evid afilu trey. Right. The halacha is not like that zug. That's the chachila. But the evid even 2 could be good. Kamashma. And halacha goes to zug. Therefore, if it was just said the first time, they need 3, right? And then in halacha goes to zug. If you just had 3, that would say l'chadchila. But the avid, you could even have 2 or 1. Therefore, you say in halacha goes to zug that even but the avid is possible. You need 3. Yeshbin in halacha goes to zug. We just said the halacha like zug. Elakatana kama. Then you need 3. How many of the avid? That would be b'diavad l'chadchila li'boy chamisha. Maybe l'chadchila like Rabbi Yehuda's sheet that we saw. He had an opinion. You might need 5 originally. Sricha. Even l'chadchila you only need 3. Ma'isa shechaltu. In front of Rabbi Yehuda, Beina lebeina miyadana. If we did it in jail between him and her, there's no edus at all, right? How could we trust them? I'm Rabbi Yehuda, Shmuel. The Eidim ro'os habechus. The case was the Eidim saw outside the jail cell. They saw the chalitza, but according to Rabbi Kiva, it was only 1. What was the incident happened? They did chalitza outside the jail. Rabbi Kiva was the one who was in jail, and he found out in jail. Or maybe they were in jail. People did chalitza. Amarav, Yehuda, Amarav, Beis Asurin, Hayamaisa, Olei Asurin, Ba Maisa. Actually, both of them were in jail. The person who did the chalitza, the couple that did the chalitza, and Rabbi Akiva, he found it in jail. And he paskin that in front of one or two Eidim, it's okay, one dying, it's okay. That will be the conclusion of today's shir. See you on Yud Ben Sion coming up next.